Okay, bring the cards up.
Show them.
Keep them face down for the time being.
Okay.
So the first card I got for you, I said the first card will be the 9 of hearts. Have a look. Turn it over. Oh. And we said the second card will be the 6 of hearts. Have a look.
Oh, come on, man! Oh, come on!
I come from the sort of poker background. Do you know when people are playing poker and they've got the glasses on the cap so you can't see their face? Because everyone's got to tell, just like that. You put the thing down. So all I do is I learn to read people. And I used to be a teacher, but I worked with young offenders and kids that were in prisons. And it was my love of magic, like you. It was my. I thought I recognised you. It was my love of magic and a mixture of the psychology that kind of brought you together to do what I do now. So can I try it with you?
Oh.
Yep. Do you play poker yourselves?
A little bit.
I play, but not regular.
Okay, but you know about poker tells and what you might be able to give away and things like that. So all we're going to do is we're going to find out what your poker tell is to start with. So I've got a deck of cards. If you can just have a look through them and then shuffle them and mix them up, so you know that I've not put them in a set order.
You're better with your hands.
Am I?
I don't know. I just said that.
Okay. Oh, there's red and black ones here.
Yep, it's a full day. We got them straight from the theatre.
Remember that quote in, was that Ocean's 11? All reds.
Oh, they're all the same. Ah. Okay, so don't flash. Once you're happy that I don't know the order, don't flash any of the cards to me. Just keep them face down. Perfect.
Cool. Good.
Yeah?
I'm good.
Awesome. So all I want you to do is to say stop anywhere you want, and I'll make sure I stop exactly where you say.
Cool. Stop.
There? You sure?
Yep.
Take the card, have a look at it, but do not show me. Yeah, by all means. Sandwich it between your hands so I can't catch a glimpse of the front or the back.
Cool.
I'm going to try and tell you what it is.
Okay.
The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to try and read your poker face, your tells. And I don't know what they are until you start reacting. So let's try and find out. The first thing I want you to do is to count out loud ace all the way up to king. So ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep a poker face, give me no clue.
Okay.
Go.
Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, queen, king.
Okay, yeah, that was great. It was ace to 10, you were very fluid, very rhythmic, very sort of monotone. There was nothing, there was no emphasis change. The change came when you went sort of 10, 9, sort of jack, queen, king, that kind of area. So I know at that point you'd lost interest. It's like you're not as focused. So yours is probably ace to 9, somewhere around there. So you're laughing, so I know it is, that's the thing. Let's break it up. Go ace to 5. Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5, 4, 3, 2, ace.
5, 4, 3, 2, ace.
There we go. Big nod as you did it. It's just say 2 for me.
2.
Say ace.
Ace.
There goes the ace. I think name me the 4 suits in any order.
Clubs, diamonds, spades, hearts.
Okay, after clubs it should come spades. It's the next black suit. People tend to keep them together. But you put a diamond in. Why would you break that up? There's a smile again. Is that the ace of diamonds? Is it close or something like that?
It's definitely the ace of diamonds.
Is it? Let's have a look at it.
Yeah, it is, man. Oh, man.
Okay, brilliant.
Oh,
so now we know what your poker tell is.
Right.
So try and do it with this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah? What's your name, mate?
Justin.
Justin?
Yeah.
We've never met before, have we, Justin?
No.
Okay, so, in fact, let's try something different with you, Justin. One of the things that helps me do with my work is being able to remember large pieces of information. So, like, if I look at a book, I'll try and take a mental snapshot of the page and remember maybe the number of words or what word was at a certain line. And it's a certain game that I play with myself to sort of make it better. One of the things that I do to improve my memory is also try and memorize a deck of cards. Okay, and that's what we're going to try. So the first thing is I need to get them in an order that I don't know. So mix them up again for me. Perfect. Now that order there is the one that we'll use. So it takes a few seconds to do it. I've got to make sure all of the cards are facing, which they are. So just give me a few seconds. Little sneaky one there. There we go. Okay, I'll keep them in the exact same order. Take one out, but don't look at it, just slide it out. Yeah, don't look at it yet, just leave it there. I've got to keep that in the perfect order again, so when we do this, I don't mess up the order or anything like that. 26 red, only 25 black. It's got to be a black card. I think you've got 13 of each suit, so 13 of the clubs, but only 12 of the spades. So it's got to be a spade. Jack, Queen, King were there. Ace is the easy one to spot, and Ace and the 4 look the same. So the 4's there. That is the 6 of spades, I think.
Oh my God, that is really impressive.
So with that 6, let me mix them up again. Now again, I don't know the order. So definitely don't know the order. Now we've done that. In fact, why don't we all just get your hands in and mix them all up like that, just to completely mix them. Perfect. Now tell me a little bit about you guys. What are you currently doing? Are you working? You studying?
I'm studying IT at Columbus State, and I work at a restaurant called Looch.
Okay. IT, is it something you want to move into in terms of work?
Yes.
Your ideal job, what would it be? Yeah, please. Programmer. Software, games, this kind of thing?
Software.
Okay, perfect. What about yourself, sir? What do you do?
I work in a library. I'm studying education.
So you want to be a teacher, that kind of thing?
More of a counselor.
Perfect. For any specific type of, would it be just for teenagers or affected kids, maybe mental health kids?
Teenagers, yeah.
That's good. Do you follow sport much?
Sure.
Football, hockey?
American football.
Okay, what's your team?
Dallas Cowboys.
So the Dallas Cowboys seem to win quite a lot of things, don't they, from what I'm gathered? Or has that changed over the years? In the 90s, were they quite a big team?
They were pretty big in the 90s.
Now it's the Patriots. Everybody hates the Patriots, is that right?
Maybe, I don't know, yeah.
Right. I don't follow it at all, unfortunately, but I've got a few friends that are American. They talk about Tom Brady all the time.
Yeah.
So that's where I get it from. I'm sick of hearing about it. With you, I want to start with you first, if that's all right. I'm going to try and influence your choice of things as you go through it. But I needed to ask those questions beforehand to give me a sense of you as a person. Have you been on holiday recently? Or vacation?
Nope.
No? If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
I would go to Costa Rica.
And you've not been there before?
Nope.
Any particular reason why you want to go there?
Volcanoes and beaches and jungles.
Perfect. So, this is a prediction for you.
Okay.
Now, all I want you to do, between you, you've mixed those cards up, haven't you, in there? I want you to, one at a time, deal the cards face down into a pile, and at any point you want, stop and deal one off to the side, face down.
All face down?
Yep, face down, one at a time. As you're going through, just get a sense of whenever you want to stop and deal one off face down. Now, I'm obviously trying to get you to stop at a certain point, but you just don't know where it is. Perfect. Did you feel compelled to sort of stop there?
I didn't feel compelled, so I chose to stop there.
Good. Take it without looking at it and sandwich it, put it underneath your hands like that. Perfect. So, if I knew the order of those cards ahead of time, I could just keep track by counting the number that you've done and remembering, because we've already memorised the deck earlier on. I should better know what those cards are. But you mix them up beforehand, so clearly I don't. However, there might be a chance that I do know the number by just keeping count of them. So can you cut a few cards off here and just drop them on top? That's it. Now we genuinely have no idea how many's left. Take those cards and just slide them towards you. And this is what I want you to do. In a moment, you're going to do the same. You're going to deal out a pile. But not just one pile, you're going to deal two. Okay, now typically people go like that. They go back and forth. If you want to do it like that, you can. Or at some point, you can just inject some spontaneity in there. You might go 3, 4, something like that. Okay? The key is not to think too much about what you're doing. Just go with the flow. We've all heard that phrase before. Now tell me something a little bit about you in terms of hobbies, not work-wise, but hobbies. What do you like to do?
I watch football, I watch soccer, play video games.
What soccer? Do you follow a certain soccer team?
The Columbus Crew in Liverpool.
Liverpool are doing very well in the Premier League at the moment.
Blow it in the end.
They might do, to be honest. They usually do that kind of thing. Right, there's a prediction for you. I think I know where we're going to go with this. So, one at a time, into 2 piles in any order you want until you've done all the cards. Don't think too much about it. This is the best way. When you detach yourself, you're not consciously thinking about it.
Then one to the side?
No, just keep going until you've done them all. It's just in a random order, random distribution. Are you left-handed or right-handed?
Left.
Okay, both hands, just hover one over each one. And when I snap my fingers, you lift one hand up. Okay, go. the top card there of this pile, take it underneath the table, just like this guy did here, and we'll get rid of the rest. Okay? Now I made 2 predictions ahead of time. You get stuck in there. And I was kind enough to number them, so we've got 1 and 2. Okay, bring the cards up.
Show them.
Keep them face down for the time being.
Okay.
So the first card I got for you, I said the first card will be the 9 of hearts. Have a look. Turn it over. And we said the second card will be the 6 of hearts. Have a look.
Oh, come on, man! Oh, come on! Oh, my Lord. There's no... Can I touch this?
Thank you very much.
No way. No.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
No,
Take the cards, have a look through them, mix them up so you know that I haven't put them in a set order. Because some people think that I've memorised the order, so you mix them up completely.
I'm like gonna embarrass myself on camera trying to like shuffle these cards. Okay.
Okay, keep them face down so I don't catch a glimpse of any. Now we don't know what the order is.
Right.
Okay, just say stop anywhere you want and make sure I stop exactly where you say.
Okay. Stop.
Yeah. Take the card, have a look at it, but don't show me.
She sees?
Yeah, of course. Now once you've seen it, sandwich it between your hands like that, so I don't catch a glimpse of the front or the back. So I'm going to try and tell you what that card is by asking you questions and watching your response.
All right.
Okay, so you're going to have to kind of give me things back in return. So to start with, just think of the card, and as soon as you can picture it in your head, count out loud ace all the way up to king. So ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. But look at me and keep a poker face as you do.
Okay.
It might be quite difficult, but we'll try. Go. Out loud though, sorry.
Oh.
I'm not a mind reader.
Sorry. Okay. Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, King, Queen.
Perfect. So the interesting thing, there's 2 things there what's kind of giving it away. And that was, you said ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for most of the numbers, you were looking directly at me. I always spot the odd one out. So ace and 2, you were looking down there. And it was almost, and you're smiling now, so I know that's the guilty kind of thing.
Okay.
The second thing is, as you got to king, you then went all the way and reverted back to ace again.
Okay.
So you started on ace and finished on ace. Ace is in your mind, so it must be an ace. I just don't know which one.
Okay.
So don't give too much away.
I'm
Just
trying.
name the 4 suits in any order that you want.
Hearts.
Yes.
Diamonds. Spades. Clovers.
Perfect.
Okay.
Clubs, clovers, trees, whatever people call it. Now, what I'm looking for is the order. The order tells me what I need to know. Now, you went, do you remember the very first what you said?
Diamonds.
Okay, and then you followed it with the next red suit.
Yes.
So, the fact that you start with that, there was a pause, you were thinking about it, and then you came. If it had been the one you've just seen, you would have said it straight away. There'd have been no pause.
Okay.
So I know it's not a red card, it's a black one. And the smile again, you keep smiling to confirm it. So it's a black ace. But just say spades out loud. Say
Spades.
and then clubs.
Clubs.
So the emphasis is on clubs, you're nodding. Clearly it's not going to be a club, you're just trying to crack me out. So this has got to be a spade, yeah?
Yeah.
Ace of spades, let's have a look.
Dang it.
So now we know what your poker tell is.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's actually pretty good. Let me teach you how I memorise certain things. I don't memorise them visually when I look at something. For example, a deck of cards, if I was to spread the cards out, I could potentially memorise the order of them. But I might have already put them in an order that I already know. So take them, mix them up, and then I'll memorise them in the order you've mixed them. See, there's no way I could know the order at this point. Right, perfect. So I have to make sure that I can see each individual one as we do this, and there's no hiding. That one there. Okay, so. Okay. Face down in the exact same order. Slide 1 card out, but just don't look at it. Just slide it out. And I'm going to keep the rest of the order intact. That one there. Are you sure? You want to change your mind? Are you happy with that?
I'm happy with it.
Okay. So take it under the table so I can't see it. Perfect. Exactly the same order again. We know roughly it would have been around this middle section there. So let me just quickly go through. And what I do is I don't see the cards as cards, I see them as objects. And the way they interact with the next card tells a story. And at some point there will be like a scene missing from the film. Yeah, okay, so 26 red, there was only 25 of them black. So it's a black card, and it was a... Is it a spade? 7 of spades missing? Ah.
Oh my God.
So in about 25 seconds, something like that. Now, have you got pretty good intuition?
Sure.
Yeah? Do you know, sometimes like you're walking down the street and you might think, I'm being followed here, or there's something, you sense something and you arrive. Now, people don't really listen to that. They kind of encourage us to shut it off because they think we're a bit crazy. But if you trust your instinct, your gut intuition, you can often find that you'll be really, really scarily accurate. And we'll try it. Yeah?
Okay.
What do you think the most common card is named when I ask people to name a card? Jack of clubs, and what would you say?
Ace of spades.
Well, Ace of Spades is, because it's the song, the Lemmy Motorhead song, I'm sure. That's the top one for men. With ladies, I get a royal card like what you said, but I tend to get hearts, like the Queen of Hearts, something like that. Very, very popular card. Now, you can name that card, or you can name a random card. But the important thing is, shuffle them in your hands as you name the card.
So say it out loud?
Yeah, so we can all hear it. Any card, except for the Joker, it's not in there, we've already taken it out.
2 of diamonds.
Okay, at any point you want, stop. Now you don't know where the 2 of diamonds is in that deck, but we're going to find your intuition is going to find it. Okay, so keep them face down. The 2 of diamonds, yeah? So I'm going to go through, and at any point you want, just stop. Use your intuition.
Stop.
Including this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said stop while these are here, right? So if I was to mix these, again into a random order, say stop again anywhere. You're getting the grip, we're going from 52 down to just a few. In fact, say stop again.
Stop.
Yeah? So you've got 2 cards. And what I want you to do is to slide one towards me in my hand face down. Use your instinct. Okay, so we've gone from 52 down to 1 card left on the table. Using your instinct. What card are you thinking of in your head?
2 of diamonds.
2 of diamonds?
Is that what I said before?
Oh my God. Get out.
Your intuition right there.
That's a
Oh
trick.
my God. That was incredible.
Can you shuffle the cards? Are you pretty good at shuffling?
No.
No? All we do, just give them a mix so you know that I've not pre-arranged them. Don't worry about it. People think that I've got them in a set order that I've memorised. So if you mix them up, therefore I don't know what the order is. That's the idea. And we're going to try and tell you what your poker tell is. Everyone's got one, we just don't know what they are. So just say stop anywhere you want. There, take the card, have a look at it, but don't show me. Once you've seen it, if you can sandwich it between your hands, so I can't see the front or the back or catch a glimpse of anything. Is it there? Can I turn back? Perfect. Have you had a look at the card?
Yeah.
Okay, so poker face.
I'm not very good at this.
And just trust me, we'll be all right. Count out loud, ace, all the way up to king. So ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up. Go.
Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King.
Oh, she's perfect. She's nervous and she's like the best of everybody we've tried this with. And what I need to do is I need to split it slightly to give me the advantage. So let's just go ace to 5 to start with. Ace up to 5. Go.
Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So you're trying so hard not to give anything away. It's like you're focusing really hard. Just say it again. Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go.
Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a little bit of emphasis there. Name me the 4 suits in any order. You know, like in a fruit machine, and you pull the wheel and they spin, and you've got like clubs, hearts, spades, diamonds, but in a different order. Don't just copy mine.
Spades, hearts, clubs, diamonds.
Spades, hearts, clubs, diamonds. Do you know what that one is?
Yeah.
So after spades, I would expect clubs to come because it's the next black suit, but she split it up. So in my mind, the club, the one that you split up, is the guilty one. So it has to be the 2 of clubs. Is it close to that? Let's have a look. Is it? Oh, it is the 2 of clubs. Perfect. Ideal for this. They say in the UK we talk about intuition, people following their intuition and trusting their instinct. Do you kind of believe in that sort of thing? With men, they say it's a gut instinct. They don't want to say intuition because it sounds a little bit too whatever. They don't really like the word, so they'll say, I trust my gut instinct. It's a man thing to do. But all I want you to do is to trust your instincts as we do this. And we'll try this with you, if that's all right. You said that you wasn't very good at shuffling cards, but I want you to shuffle them or try your best to mix them up. And the reason why is, again, people think that I know the order, which I could do the order. However, if I put them face down and you mix them, then there's no way. So mix them up. As you do that, allow the image of a card to come to mind. Okay, now bearing in mind a lot of people say, especially men, they will say the ace of spades first. That'll be the card that pops to mind. And I think it's because of Motorhead with the song, everyone knows the ace of spades. But with ladies, the queen of hearts is popular. Okay, so as you're shuffling them, I want you to name any card. You can name the ones I've just said, or you can name whatever comes to mind now. So what card do you want to go with?
The 4 of clubs.
The 4 of clubs. Now we have no idea where the 4 of clubs is in that deck, do we? Because you're shuffling them. Okay, are you happy at this point?
Yep.
Right, keep them face down and hold your hands like this. Okay, it's the 4 of clubs. All I'm going to do is I'm going to go through. As I'm going through, maybe when you get a sense or it could be a feeling or something like that, maybe when we're getting close to your card, the 4 of clubs, just say stop at any point you want.
This is bad.
That's all right. How are you going to know at the end of the day? So now we're getting close. It's perfect. So we're getting close around here. That's when you had that feeling. So keep them out. I'm going to go through again, but this time wait until you think that we've probably gone past your card. Okay?
Stop.
There. So what card do you have in mind? The 4 of clubs? You stop right there. Would you be amazed if your intuition in somehow stopped you bang on the card?
Yes.
Have a look. The 4 of clubs. Let's see.
Just the top one? Okay.
I think trusting your instincts is a really good idea. That's fantastic. Well, I'm going to take you, and I'm going to thank you very much for joining me, both of you, and I hope you have a wonderful evening at the show tonight. Hi guys, and welcome to this Penguin Magic Instant Download. My name is Looch, and this is my approach to performing mentalism with a marked deck of playing cards. You will have hopefully received a deck of these, which are the Penguin Magic mark cards, and I strongly recommend that you check out the instruction video beforehand just so you're familiar with the different types of marks and what you can do to actually perform with them, and then come back and check out what I do with them afterwards. Okay? Okay guys, so now you've had a chance to have a play with your cards, get used to where the markings are. This is a really, really great deck from Penguin, just because you've offered a variety of different marks in different areas. So depending on the type of routines and material you perform, you've got the options to spot markings in different ways. So for example, if you wanted to deal cards down, you can take the big marking right here. So on the top, you've got the 6 of clubs there, and it doesn't matter whether it's one way or the other because they're repeated on both sides. It's a really easy marking to spot. Your eyes naturally draw straight to this area because it's in the heart shape on the bikes, which you're naturally used to sort of seeing, you know where it is. If you're ever looking at maybe spotting a mark in a spread on a table, then you can use these side bits here. Okay, so just so you can see, you've got the number, and then underneath that you have the suit, and it gives you a really, really nice plain view. And even in a tight spread, you don't need to have to spread these out all the way to this area. You can just have them spread out a little bit, just maybe sort of 1 centimetre, 10 millimetres, you know, half an inch, that kind of thing, and you've got a really good view. And again, it doesn't matter whether the cards are rotated because they're the same, they're directional. You're going to be able to spot the marks. So you've got one here, one here, one here and one here, and that doesn't matter which way you go round. And you've got the centre one there, which prints not only the value but also the suit. Okay, so with this you've got a really fantastic mark deck, and for the price they're absolutely steal. So grab yourself a brick because it really is one of the cheapest and best made mark decks on the market today. So one of the very first things that I used to do with a mark deck is a routine what I call body language. For those of you who've seen my first Penguin live lecture back in 2013, it appeared on there. It's as simple as it gets. You're literally just going to read a mark and you're going to present and tell someone what card they're thinking of. But the way I do it is it sets the scene to my show. So I use this in a close-up setting where I'm mingling either at a corporate event or a wedding or a party or something like that, and I want to very quickly establish myself as a performer, but I also want to tell people how different I am to, say, the traditional magician. because a lot of people are used to seeing card tricks, and I will say, you know, a traditional magician might say, pick a card, any card, and then make it appear in someone's pocket or behind a window, and that's a preconception that a lot of people have when they see someone with a deck of cards. So I want to establish that I'm different right from the start. So one of the very first things that I do is my routine called body language, and that is I will literally hand the deck off to someone and ask them to mix them up, check the cards, and I will always use this line. I'll say mix them up so you know that I don't know the order of the cards, because if I don't know the order of the cards, obviously I can't have memorized them or known the order beforehand, which I suppose in itself is quite impressive to be able to know the order, but some people think that that's how this is done. So please mix the cards up so you will know that I have no idea where any of the cards are, and then we'll start. So at this point, obviously people are mixing the cards up, they're shuffling them, they're checking them out, and they can do. They're not going to spot the marks. You need to trust in the design that the team have done for this deck. No one will spot them. They don't know what they're looking for anyway. And if you act very natural and very calm, it's not going to be something that raises suspicion. So once the cards have been mixed up, they hand them you back. You never look through the cards. You don't want to be doing this. You don't want to be drawing any attention to the fact that you might be looking for a certain card, which then almost sort of suggests that you might be using some sort of sleight of hand or anything like that. When I take the deck back, I literally say to them, just say stop anywhere you want. And I'm purposely looking away as I drop the cards like this. I will say to them as well, make sure I stop exactly where you say. And if not, we can start again and do this again. So just say stop anywhere you want. When they say stop, I will say there. And at that moment, as they say there, that's when I look at them. Their natural instincts to look at me, they say yes. I say take the card, and it's natural for me to look down and say take the card, and that's when I get the mark. Okay? So we'll do this at speed. Say stop anywhere you want. There. Take the card, have a look at it, but don't show me. Okay? And instantly I turn away. And what I want to do is I want to create the illusion that I never really looked at anything. It's just a quick moment. Just take the card, have a look at it, and then hold it to yourself, maybe put it in your pocket, sandwich it between your hands, and I will often say, as they take the card, I'll say, sandwich it between your hands so I can't see the front, the back, we don't catch a glimpse of anything like that, just hide it away. As long as you know the card, please don't show anyone else, because obviously people think that I might be working with somebody or someone's going to be in on it with me and trying to tell me what that card is. So it's very, very quick. I'll do it one more time. Keep turning away, say stop anywhere you want. Perfect, there. Take the card, have a look at it, don't show me, sandwich it in your hands once you've seen it so I can't see the front or the back, make sure no one else sees it, and then we'll carry on. Are we ready to go? Perfect. And then I can go into the revealing of it. Now obviously I've already seen the card, I know what it is in advance. So the way I want to reveal it is I'm going to do it incrementally. I'm going to get the colour, I'm going to get the suit, I'm going to get the value, and I'm going to put it all together to work out what that card is. The reason being is I want to establish that what I'm doing is more psychological in nature, that I'm reading certain body language tells, or maybe a poker face, that kind of thing, to work out what their card is. One of the very first things that I will do is try and get the value of that card. So once they've got it locked in mind, they've got it sandwiched in the hands, and I will often ask them to keep their hands out like this because it creates a focal point. It creates a moment where people can see, who might be on the periphery of things, what's going on over there, because they can see this guy stood like that and the other guy sort of observing and staring at them. So I will say, okay, so think of the card, don't say anything out loud, and just count out loud for me, starting with ace all the way up to king. Okay, keep a poker face, don't give anything away. 3, 2, 1, go. And then I observe, I watch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I wait for them to get all the way up to king. Now, what I'm doing at this point, I already know the card. So I'm looking for anything that I can attribute towards a tell. Okay, so in this particular case, we're dealing with a 2. So I'm going to watch right at the start. They'll go 1 or ace. Sometimes they'll say 1, 2, oh no, they'll get ace, 2. They don't quite know whether they should say ace or 1, especially if they're not familiar with using playing cards on a daily basis like we are. This might be quite a bit of a quirky thing for them. They might not have used a deck of cards or played with a deck of cards for years. So there'll be that moment where some people will just say ace, 2, 3, or they'll go ace, 1, 2, 3, and that's a moment that you can use to then attribute towards partially the method. So I can say it's interesting how you said ace and 1, which are essentially the same card. But clearly you were focused on that area there. Then 2 came, 3, 4, 5. At that point, and I'm looking for something. And what I will tend to do, it's quite difficult to explain, but I'm looking for a moment where I can say, there was the clue. So for example, Let's do this with a different card. Let's just do it with a random card so I have no idea what it is. So say stop anywhere you want. Stop there. Remember the card. Sandwich it between your hands. Don't show me. Have you seen that card? Perfect. Lock it in your mind. Don't show me. And then I'll say, okay, keep a poker face. Count out loud ace to king, but don't give away what the card is. Right? At this point, I know that they're on with an 8. So I'm going to say they're going to go ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, queen, king. Now, most people will pause after the 10. And there's a reason why that, because naturally we count 1 to 10. And there'll be that moment where they think, well, what comes next? Oh, jack, queen, king. Okay, all I'm going to use that pause as one sort of tell that tells me something. And what could it tell me? Well, it could tell me that they focused all the way 1 to 10. And at that point, they stopped and then they re-familiarised with themselves and went jack, queen, king. Well, that tells me that mainly they were trying not to give it away between 1 and 10. Because the pause suggests a relaxation, a moment where they stopped. So I'm going to say, right, so now I know it's somewhere 1 to 10, but don't give it away. I don't really know where it is yet, so let's break this up. Let's go ace to 5 to start with. So can you just repeat after me, ace to 5, and then you watch more intently. Okay, now 6 to 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I will say something along the lines of, okay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, slightly more, a little bit of emphasis, there's something strange there. Just say 7 for me, 7, say 8, 8, 9, this is an 8, isn't it? 8 with you. And all I'm doing is I'm looking for something that I can attribute towards the method. Now you'll find that the more you do this, the more that there will be things that do actually occur. There'll be people what maybe smile or smirk because they're feeling themselves that they're going to give it away. They know that their job is to keep a complete poker face, but they also know that I'm watching for things. So they're thinking that their card is the 8. Well, when they get to about 5, 6, 7, they know that their 8's coming up. So they'll sometimes give away something. And all you've got to do is to watch for it. And the advantage what you have is that you know the card in advance. So you're just looking, you're waiting for any little thing that you can attribute towards that tell. And once you get the value of that card, you can then move on to try and get the colour and the suit. Now, there are variations and different versions that I've done this depending on the situation, depending on how people are responding or what type of event I'm in. Sometimes they might not even be that interested, so you can maybe speed it up and move on to something else. But I will, once I get the value of the card, I'll then want to get the suit of it. So I will often say it's like a jigsaw puzzle. I'm trying to take certain pieces, putting them together to work out what that card is. So now we know it's an 8. I have no idea whether this is a heart, a diamond, or club, or a spade. So just imagine those 4 suits right now. See them on almost like a fruit machine, one of those bandits, what you would play in Vegas, what you pull the handle and the fruits come up. Just imagine seeing a run of 4 of them, and each one's a suit. Okay, name the suits in any order now. Okay, you know the suit, try not to give it away, but name it in any order. And they'll say clubs, spades, hearts and diamonds. And then again, because you know which one it is you're looking for, you're attributing something towards what that card is, and then obviously claiming that that was the tell. So in this particular instance, we're looking for the clubs, so they might say, they'll never usually say, it won't be the first one, it'll often either be somewhere in the middle, or it'll be towards the end. Very rarely will they say it's their suit at the start. If they do, in those rare instances, then you will say, you know, I told you purposely to keep a poker face, and you're very bold, you're very confident. Would you be bold enough to actually say the suit that you're thinking of at the start? I actually think you would, and that tells me that this is probably the 8 of clubs with you, isn't it? And then they're obviously going to react, so they've got to say yes to it. However, most of the time, they're going to put it in the middle. And what I listen for is, because I know the suit, I'm listening for the club. I will make this up. If they say diamonds, clubs, spades and hearts, what they've actually done is they've taken the black suits and put them into the middle. Okay, and they've surrounded them by the red ones. And I will often say that's when they're trying to hide them, they'll put them in the middle. And it's funny that you've split the red cards up and decided to put the blacks in the middle. That tells me you were thinking of a black card. Yes, they have to reply yes to it. And I say, now I need to work out whether this is a club or a spade. So just repeat after me, club. Say it, club, club, club. Okay, spade, spade. Now this is a club with you, isn't it? The 8 of clubs? Yes. Another way that they might do it is actually say clubs or the guilty suit right at the end. Okay, and if they do that, it might be something like diamonds, hearts, spades and clubs. And I will literally say is, people don't say it at the start, they'll always put it to the end to try and hide it. Because when it's at the end, people tend to forget about it. So I think yours will be a club. Again, they've got to react and say yes to it. The only other variation of this is if they split the colours up. So because, again, you know what the suit is going to be, in this particular case we're still dealing with clubs, if they decide to say spades, hearts, clubs and diamonds, where they break the colours up, I will say, interestingly, you started off with spades. Now the next logical suit to come after that would be clubs, because we seem to see them in groups, a group of colours, but you actually split those up. So why would you split those up unless there's something you're trying to hide? So the fact that you see said spades at the start tells me it's not going to be a spade, you're not going to be confident enough or bold enough to start with a spade. But you then split the colours. So I think right now at this point, probably the club's the guilty one. So I'm saying the 8 of clubs, would that be right? And again, they've got to say yes, and they've got to give that into it. So it's one of those routines that is there to establish you very quickly. It should be done within less than a minute. Hand the deck off, shuffled up, have a selection done in a very fair way where you turn it away, and even if they try and think back to how this was done, there's no possible way you're giving them to reverse engineer the method, because you are looking at the card when they look down to take the card. That's the moment you're going to get your peak. It's the perfect misdirection for it. And just play around with getting bits incrementally. Get the colours, get the card, the suit, the value, and play around with it. Use my instructions as a starting point, but obviously you are then free to go off and try different techniques as well to reveal it and put your own sort of personality and stamp on that. So that is body language. It has served me very well for well over 15 years, and I still use it every day in my performances to establish who I am as a psychological kind of performer, somebody who reads body language. I hope you enjoyed it, and let's move on to the next idea. Okay guys, welcome back. The next routine that we're going to be looking at is the pseudo-memorized card routine, where you are creating the illusion that you are memorizing an order of cards. In reality, you're not doing any of that. All you're doing is you're spotting the single card, you're memorizing the card that you've done, and then you're using that card to then direct your patter to create that illusion that you're memorizing the whole deck. So essentially all you're going to do is you're going to have a deck mixed up and shuffled by either one person or a variety of people. They can either shuffle them in their hands, or they can maybe wash the cards in their hands, and they can all get their hands in there and mix them all up, which is probably my favourite way of doing that when I'm working with a group. The reason being is that it's interactive, people can get involved, and straight away they feel that they're actually part of something, as opposed to watching their friend awkwardly shuffle a deck of cards and maybe drop a few on the floor. So once the cards have been completely mixed up, I'll say it's important that we're going to keep them in this exact order at this moment, because if we mix them up, it's not going to work. So we turn them over, keeping the deck in the exact same order, and then just spread them out on a table and make sure that all of the faces are completely clear, so there's none hidden behind any of the other cards. Once you do that, you ask them to give you just a moment of silence, and all you're going to do is you're going to apparently create the illusion that you are memorizing the order, but realistically all you're doing is you're just looking through. Okay? Because what you want people to think of is that at this moment he's trying to memorize every single card in their order. All I'm going to do is I'm going to start from one side, I'm going to work my way across. Once I get to maybe about a third of the deck in, I might sort of stop a little bit and just go back. And I'm using my hand almost as like a pointer, so it's giving everyone who's watching a visual reference as to where I am in this particular sequence. So I might move through, stop and go back a few more times. And I might take 20, 30 seconds to do this, because it's not supposed to be an easy task. And sometimes some of the cards are going to get underneath and they're not going to quite show, so you just want to bring those out a little bit to make sure you're telling everyone subtly that you're making sure that you've got every single card in there. And once you're happy with it, you're going to close the spread up, but maintaining the cards in the order. It's very important that those cards are in the same order for when you turn them over, because obviously there's no point in you memorising or apparently memorising the deck if instantly it gets messed up and changed into a different order. So once you've done that, and don't be afraid to take your time, 20, 30, even 40 seconds to do that, it's completely fine. At that point, spread them out again, but face down. And you have someone select a card, but this is the moment where you're going to peek it. So you don't want them just to take it out straight away and look at it or hide it. You want to give yourself a little bit of time to get that peek, especially if you're performing in a dark room or something where the lighting is not too good and you might not get it on the first go. So you ask people, you say, now when I get people to select a card, the vast majority will take them from this middle portion of the deck, which is fine because you've mixed them up beforehand, we've memorised the order, so if you want to take one from there you can, or you can take one from anywhere. You just want to sort of set it out and give them time to think where they want to take their card from. So let's say that they take a card from here, and I say just slide it out but don't look at it just yet. The reason why is because it's just giving me that few extra seconds so I can peek the card, but I'm then going to ask them, do you want to change your mind? Now you know that you could have taken one from anyone, you can take this one if you want, or do you want to go with a different one? Now the vast majority of the time they'll say, no, that's fine, and obviously at that point I've had more than enough time to peek the card. However, there will be a few people on those rare occasions that'll say, yeah, okay, and then they'll push that one back in, but make sure that they put it back in the same place. Because you've put the emphasis on the order being very important and not to be mixed up, it's unlikely that they're going to want to start messing with that and taking different cards out. You've put the emphasis on the order. So they've taken the card, and at that point I'll say take it underneath the table, hide it away so nobody can see the cards, and we're going to keep these in the exact same order. And just flip it up and spread them out again so we can see all the faces. And the reason why we're doing that is obviously because we've apparently already committed this particular order of the cards to memory. So now all I'm going to be doing is spotting which one's missing. But the thing is, I've already seen the marking on the back of it. I know that it's a black card, so there are now going to be more red cards in the deck. So I go back through again, making sure that I can see every single one. And then quickly scoop them up. It doesn't matter if I mess the order up at this point because it's done. I can straight away say the following. There was 26 red cards, but only 25 black cards. So this card, what you have, must be a black card. Don't look at it just yet. Out of the black cards, the 2 suits, we've got 13 of one, which I definitely saw. They're the spades, so yours must be a club. The Jack, Queen and King are always the easy to remember because they're bright and visual, they stand out. They were all there. Let me just get the numbers. I'm on the 10. The 9, yes, they were there. 8, 7, I think. 6, 5. This is getting a little bit difficult now. So 10 down to 5, yes, they were there. The 4, it's definitely one of the lower ones. It's a low club. I saw the 2. I saw the 3. I'm not sure about the 4. I'm not sure about the ace. And the reason why I say that is the ace and the 4, they look quite similar in terms of the structure of the letter of the value. So obviously you were feigning struggling on that one. So yeah, the 4, the ace. No, I think the 4 was towards this side. So I want to say that yours is the ace of clubs. Let's have a look. Bring it up. And obviously at this point, because they don't know what the card is, that you don't want them to look at it at the start because they will react. And it kind of weakens the reaction for everyone else. So by them bringing it up, that moment where they turn it over and everyone sees the ace of clubs for the first time, they are all genuinely reacting at that same time. So it kind of enhances that reaction, which is better for the trick because people reacting better in one unison is a great way to go. One of the other subtleties that I've done is when the card's been taken, so in that particular case the ace of clubs was taken, I might also pay attention to where that 4 of clubs is in the deck. So when I was going back through and looking at the faces, I'm just subtly looking for where that 4 is and making a mental note of it. So when I turn it over again, I know that the 4 was within these first few cards. So when I'm struggling at the end, was it the 4, was it the ace? No, the 4 was somewhere in that top area there. Because later on, once you revealed the card, you can then go back and say, no, I did remember seeing the 4, it was towards this top area here. So you could spread them out again, and there it is for you to see. So it's just an added convincer that that was there and you did see it, but you just couldn't quite remember at the time. It's just an enhancement to help sort of increase the effectiveness of the illusion. So that is the pseudo-memorized card routine. It's something that served me very, very well, especially when I'm sat down with it tends to be a man kind of routine when I deal with gentlemen who are performing at corporate events. That might be into poker, they might be into that kind of sort of memory stunts or something where, the power of your mind, that sort of thing, they get into it. It's something that's very, very believable. And with a marked deck, it's just so very easy to perform that. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll move on to the next routine. So the next routine is one that I call Tracker. It's a routine that I'm quite well known for. A lot of mentalists like it. It was in my 2015 book, The Black Project, and it was also in my second Penguin Live routine lecture. It has changed slightly over the years and become more streamlined, and it's a routine that I perform at pretty much every single walk around event that I do, especially when I'm sat at a table with people and I've got time to sort of relax and take my time to do it, as opposed to something very quick. It probably takes about 5 minutes to perform, and it gets fantastic reactions. You can perform this as an open prediction, so you can particularly write down the card at the start and show everybody except for the participant, or you might even want to show them and be quite ballsy and do that. Or you can write the prediction down and you can hide it on the table or give it someone to look after, as long as they don't show anybody. So it's up to you how you want to do that. I would say practice yourself between the two different versions and see which works better for you. To start with, I found that keeping it face down and not showing anyone was better, because I had that big moment at the end when I showed that the card was predicted. But sometimes it's nice from right at the start, you can write it down and show everyone else, because they know where we're going. It's almost telegraphing where the routine's going. We are eliminating cards in the fairest possible way until we get down to just a few, and people are thinking, well, there's no way that this can't be that card what we've seen at the start. So in a way, you're building that disbelief as we go through the routine. So try it either way, and I hope you enjoy it. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the deck mixed up and shuffled by a participant into a random order that nobody knows. As soon as they stop, you ask them to keep them face down, and at no point flash any of the cards or give me any sort of sense of where the cards are in the deck. It's important that I don't know the order. As I'm addressing the people and talking about that, I'm going to be looking at the marking. So I know the very top card of the deck is the 3 of hearts. So that's the card that we are going to be predicting. We are going to be keeping track of it, hence the name tracker. So I'll write down the 3 of hearts, and you either show it, like we've said, to other people, even the person, or we keep it face down in the card box or just off to the side. Sometimes I've put it underneath a wine glass when I'm performing an event, just as long as it's somewhere where people can see and they know that it's not going to get messed around with or changed or anything like that. So the 3 of hearts. There is one thing about this, is because I don't know the card in advance until they finish shuffling, then I will usually say, when I do this with my favourite card. So there's a reason why I've gone for this particular card, as opposed to just something like a really common card like the Ace of Spades or like the Queen of Hearts or something like that. The card's going to change every single time. So give it a reason. I just say it's my favourite card. It sort of gives a reason or a logical justification for using that particular card, and no one's ever questioned me on it. So at this point, you've got your prediction, and you know that the card matches the one on top. You say to them, so you've shuffled the cards, nobody at this point knows the order of the cards, and all I want you now to do is to reach over and to cut them into 2 piles. Try and keep them as even as possible, but it's not 100% certain that they have to do it bang on. So you watch for them cutting it, and obviously you just keep track of which pile's got 3 of hearts in, so we know it's over here. So I say to them, you're going to have one of those piles, and the one that you don't want is the one that I get. So which pile do you want for yourself? And you're being very fair about that, because at this point, it doesn't matter which pile they choose. The one they choose for themselves. So we'll talk about the 2 different ways we can do this. Let's say that they choose to go with the pile that has the 3 of hearts, which is this, and they want to keep that from themselves. So you say, okay, so I've got this one, and all we're going to do is we're going to do this in synchronicity with each other, so we're in sync, we're at the same pace, we're doing it at the exact same time. I just want you to copy what I do, and I deal 1 card face down, and they do the same. And I say, right, so we'll pick up some speed, but we do this in sync with each other. And I get them, so we're dealing them at the exact same time. Once they've dealt a few cards, I say, and you're in complete control. At any point you want, you say stop, and we'll stop. And I wait. Now, some people will feel almost forced into stopping quite soon, whereas other people, the more the alpha kind of people, will want to go further in the deck to show and subtly suggest to everybody that they are in control and they're going to stop when they want to stop. Either way, it doesn't make any difference. Wherever they stop, you stop. You say to them, the cards that you stopped on, these ones here we've dealt, we're going to keep, get rid of the others. So you ask them to pass the pile off, and then you just get rid of them. And they say, we're going to do this one more time. But this time, the cards that we deal are eliminated. So these cards are gone. And again, we do this at your speed, in sync with each other. At any moment, you can say stop, and we get rid of those cards. So let's say they stop here. Say fine, we get rid of those. And you can see that we are eliminating cards in the fairest possible way. You're in complete control. Now, the reason why we did this in sync at the same speed as each other because we will have the same amount of cards each now. So then you take your deck and you say, do you have 4 cards? They naturally will go, yes. Now some people in itself, they will react to that. They won't realise what you've done. It's just by keeping it in sync, you're actually forcing the same number of cards to be dealt. Some people will think that's quite quirky and unusual. So you then say to them, mix your cards up and lay them down in a row so they mirror mine. And we know that the card that we've predicted is in their pile. It still will be in here because when we deal in from the top, that then becomes the very bottom of the pile. So all we're doing is we're reversing the order. So we know 100% that the card we've predicted is still in here. So now because they're marked, I can just keep track of where it is. And in this particular position, it's here. So I want this card, but I might not be able to get it straight away. So I'm going to use another equivocate procedure or magician's force to sort of narrow it down until I've got just this card. So what I will say at this point is I'll ask them, are they left-handed or right-handed? Doesn't matter what they say, I'll just say, hold out your index finger on the hand that you're dominant with and just hover it above your card here a couple of inches. So they do that and I'll say, and just move back and forward and stop over any card. Now I purposely time it so when I finish, I'm hovering it over the one that I want them to stop on. Now this is not a surefire force, but sometimes I've found that it actually helps and more likely than not they will stop over the one that you're thinking of. Now if you want to mix the cards up yourself, you can subtly put the card, the force card, in this position when there are only 4 left. Because from a psychological point of view, and my friend Banachek talks about this in his Psychological Subtleties book, if you have a row of 4 objects or 4 playing cards, if you were to ask someone to think of one of them, there is a good success rate that they will choose the one in position number 3. Now that changes depending on the number of cards you have in a spread, but we can talk about those later on and we'll go through different variations of having more cards. But I know that this is the card that they want to, so as they move up and back and forth, say if they stop here, that's perfect. If they stop over the force card, all I will do is I'll say, I'm guided by whatever you do. So wherever you stop is wherever I've got to stop. So if they put their finger there, I'll say, so this is my equivalent of card here. Yes, push them together and get rid of the others. Okay, and that's how I would end up with just those. Now what happens if, for example, they stop here? Okay, now the rule of thumb to remember is to eliminate the most you can. So if they stop here, I'll say, so my equivalent one is here, yes, and they say yes, and all I'll do is say slide them over to the end of the table and hand me the cards, and then we just eliminate them down. And straight away, before they even get a chance to think anything, I say, you can see what we're doing. We started off with 52 cards and now we only have 4. And I move on to the next procedure. And I will vary it each time so it doesn't become monotonous and the same sort of step. Because with equivocate or magician's choice, if there is a difference in procedure and you do something several times at the same time and you maybe eliminate one once or then select it the other time, it can be confusing. So you want to do different procedures each time. So at this point here, what I will say is, now I want to get one of your cards and put it on top of one of mine. So you could either go straight forward like that or you could go like that. Which one do you want to do? And they pick up one card, let's say they do that and they put it on top of there. I know that that's the force card, so I will eliminate these. Now, they might actually take the non-force card. They might go with that and there. And I say, okay, so just eliminate them. And now we're down to 2, the last 2. I'll take the cards and I'll mix them. Doesn't matter if they mix them, I mix them or not. I can just instantly know that this is the card that I want to go with. This is the one. And I'll say, I want to hold my hand face down, keep the card face down and just place any one of those 2 cards in my hand face down. Okay? If they place the force card, perfect, it's done. That one's gone, and then we can do the reveal. If they, however, place the non-force card, my hand will very slowly start to move over to the pile where I've discarded, and I will say, do you want to change your mind? Well, what am I asking there? Do you want to change your mind for what? I'm not giving a reason why I'm asking them. If they say no, then that card goes down there, and that's as clean as it could be. However, if they say yes, I'll say, fine, swap. And then they hand me this one, which is the force card, and they can just get rid of that one, and then we're done. That makes sense? So let's have a look at the possibility of having, because each time you're going to end up with more cards. You might have 2 cards in a row, there might be 6 cards in a row, but quite frankly, the average that you'll probably get is sort of 3 to perhaps 6 cards in the row. So let's look at that. So remember, I have force cards here, and we'll do a few more cards. Let's do 5. Okay, and again, the card's here, so let's mix it up a little bit. Let's say it's one on the end this time. Okay, let's say it's there. So I'm keeping a track. I'll say hold your finger out, place it just above yours, move back and forward and stop over any card. And they do that, and let's say they stop here. Okay, now I always say the rule is eliminate the most you can. So at this point you can get rid of every single card now in this row. So I'll say literally just bring your hand down and scoop them up onto the table into my hand like that, which they do. And that's a perfect way of doing it, because literally we've just got 2 cards left. So if you think the rule is always eliminate as many as you can. Now there are some times where you might have 4 or 5 cards in a row and you don't get the hit that you want to start with. So let's look at different possibilities there. Let's say that we've got 5 cards again, and worst case scenario, what we got there, 4, 5, there we go. Worst case scenario is, let's say, we'll put it in the middle there. So we've got the 3 of hearts there this time. Okay, so get them again, move the finger back and forward. Let's say that they stop on a corner one here. Well, obviously I've got no really way to go. I can't have them eliminate all the cards. They can only really eliminate this corner one here, the one right at the end. So we just eliminate it and we move on. Okay, I don't repeat the finger moving again, because I don't want to be doing the same thing over and over again. So this time I'll say, do you want to mix your cards up again? Are you happy with it? You can give them the option to do that, and then you can just track where it is. Or you can say, okay, so now I want you to take one of your cards and put it on top of one of mine. It doesn't matter which one. So they might do this and this. That's fine. You mix them up, you got rid of them. I don't know why we've gone all of a sudden. I think we had 1 extra card there, which is fine. So we're down to just 3, and again I want to change it up. I want to have something a little bit different so it doesn't seem the same. Okay, so I'll literally just say to them, when I snap my finger, you're just going to put your hand down on one of your cards. It doesn't matter which one, just do it now. And each time it's a different process, and I'm not giving a reason for doing it, I'm just doing it. And the main thing about this is that you are very, very natural with the way you talk. It's a little bit like a flow chart. I don't know if you ever did that at school in maths or engineering or anything like that, but you've got to get from the top to the bottom, and it could be a variety of different ways that you could do it. You might go off to one side, you veer back, but this is essentially equivocate. You've got to appear to get from A to Z in the most natural and fluid of way, and that your choice and your decisions is the only way it would have ever been. Because by doing that, you're creating a really natural illusion that that's what you were going to do all along. So what I might do is snap my fingers, they might pick another card, and then these ones are gone. And then again, I'm down to that last procedure where they take one of those and put it on top of mine. That tends to be the last one. So even if they take the force card this time and drop it on top of, say, this card, then these ones are eliminated. And they've opted to keep for the 2 what's in a pile. It makes sense, they're on top of each other, that they've kept these ones. I won't touch them, I'll say, just mix them up, and then just hand me one of them. If they hand you the force card, that one goes. If they hand you the other card, that one goes, and the force card remains. So in terms of revealing the card, you're usually at the position where this one is face down. You've got this here, and then you will say, do you remember at the start I made a prediction? And you sort of slide it in face down. You can do it either way. You can have them reveal the card first, and then they all naturally want to see whether this matches. Or you can say, at the start I wrote down a card. This was my favourite card, which is the 3 of hearts. And at this point you suggest, you just sort of point, and they know. They're going to be like, no way, no chance, no at all. And I'll say, you turn it over, I don't want to touch it. And that moment when they turn it, they get that big reaction. There'll be that sort of explosion, especially when you've got 3, 4, 5 people around you. They always react very, very strong to it. So that is Tracker. I hope you enjoy it. I've used it for years and get some great reactions, and continue to do that at most of my close-up events. So the other variation is that once the spectator or participant has cut the cards, they opt to select you to have the card with the force card on the top. So in this case, the 3 of hearts would be here, and this time it's just the reverse of that. I know that I have the card that I want to get at the end in my pile, so I'm just aware I'm keeping track of that. So at this point, all we would do is the exact same again. We'll make sure that we're in sync and we're dealing the cards. Obviously the 3 of hearts is the very first card that goes down on the pile. And once we get some sort of synchronicity going and some speed, I will say at any point you want, you stop. The cards that we don't leave in the pile, we just sort of get rid of them, and we keep the ones that we're dealing. So let's say they stop there. Again, we just carry on as normal. We then eliminate, explain that we're doing the exact opposite. So at any point they want to stop, they can stop and we eliminate those cards. So they say they stop there, and we know still that the 3 of hearts, the force card, is still on the bottom of my pile. So I'll say mix them up and I'll deal them out. Now you've got a little bit more control over here because I can actually put it into the psychologically most appealing position in the row. So as they're mixing their cards up, it gives me the perfect opportunity to look down and just have a look as to where the 3 of hearts is in the spread. So I know straight away that it's here on this side. What I want to do is in a position of 5 cards, I want to put it in position 4. That's the psychologically most appealing. The next one after that would be position number 2. They are the 2 most appealing positions in there. They tend to avoid the extremes, and the middle tends to be the obvious one that they will avoid. And I think, and there's no proof of this, but I think if you are right-handed, you will tend to go for position number 4. If you are left-handed and facing this way, they tend to go for position number 2, so it's the opposite one. It's the one closest to the hand that you are more dominant with. So I'll place that in either this. If I notice that they are left-handed, I'll place it here. If they are right-handed, I'll have it in position number 4. And the reason being, I'm just giving myself just a slight extra percentage chance that they're going to stop here. So I'll say hold your finger out and just move it up and down and stop wherever you want. Obviously I'm guided what you do. I'm guided by where you stop. If they stop there, fantastic. You're in the position where the force card matches, and you can eliminate all the others. If not, if they stop there, for example, you eliminate all those cards. If they stop there, you eliminate that card. Here, you would eliminate that card. Here, you would eliminate that card. So the best position really here is this one or this one, because you're either going to get a perfect hit or you're going to eliminate the most amount of cards in one go. So let's say that they do this, which will happen, you know, there's no sort of rhyme or reason to it. It's going to be different each time. So it's important that you are very natural with this. But we're down to 4 cards, as long as we stick to the rule of eliminate as many as we can in one go, unless we hit the force bang on. And then again, just mix up your cards. Doesn't matter what the order are. They mix them up. And I will say, literally take one of your cards, keep it face down, and drop it onto one of mine. It matters not which one it is. So let's say they do that. These ones are eliminated, and we're down to the last 2, which are mixed up, and I say, and just hand me one of them face down. They either go with the force card, or they go with the opposite one. It doesn't really matter, but at the end, we are in the exact same position again, where we're going to predict the exact card. Okay, so don't worry if they're in your pile or theirs, it's the exact same. All we've got to do is remember, we've got to keep track of where that is, hence the name Tracker. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll move on to the next routine. Okay, so the next routine is called the Reaper, and the Reaper came about, it was an evolution of the previous trick Tracker. Years ago I read in Tarbell a routine called Twin Souls by Al Baker, and it was a prediction effect using a deck of cards where you predict 2 cards selected by participants in advance. But it was quite awkward in its handling and the way that you had to sort of force certain cards. So I wanted to streamline that, and the best way to do it was with a marked deck. And so I present to you the Reaper. What you do is you have the participant mix up a deck of cards at the start. I always start with this. I very much want it to be hands off. And this effect, you can literally perform it where you never ever touch it. And I will say this is the card trick where you never touch the cards. I'm in no control of it at all. So I have the participant mix the cards up, and at any point they want, they stop. Now what I want to do is I want to memorize and commit to memory this top card. So I will say to them, I say, you know, at this point you've mixed them up, nobody knows where the order is. Okay, so in a moment I'm going to ask you to do something. Before I do that, I'm going to make a prediction as to what I think you're going to do in a moment. And I'm putting the emphasis on, this is the outcome of something later on. But really, all it's doing is it's buying me a few seconds just to remember the mark and commit it to memory, because I'm going to then throw them off by making that prediction now. So what I will do, just so you guys can see, the top card is the 8 of Hearts. Okay, and that's what I'm going to predict. I'm going to write that down, but I'm not going to let anybody see. So I'm going to write here, just for you guys, I'm going to write the second card will be the 8 of Hearts. And make sure nobody sees that. I fold it down into my hand like that. And what I will do is I will casually just write a number 2 on there. Again, I'm not going to show that to anyone else, because what I want to do is I want to create the illusion that I'm writing a number 1, but really writing a number 2. So I'll get my 2 down and say, I'm just going to number that as well, and feint doing a number 1. That goes face down into the card box, and we carry on. I'll say, right, okay, so at this point it's important that as you're doing this, you just pay attention to what you're feeling inside, because I want you to take the cards, which they do, and they're going to deal them down into a pile one at a time, and at any point they want, whenever they get a feeling, they're just going to stop, and they're going to deal 1 card off to the side. Now some people will go all the way down, some people will stop around the middle, it doesn't matter. They deal 1 card off to the side and they stop, okay? So at this point, what I need to do is I need to put the focus on that's where they've stopped. This is the card that they've stopped on. And I'll say to them, take the card, but don't look at it, just put it underneath the table and sandwich it between your hands. Now obviously, as I'm pointing towards that, I'm looking at what the marking is, and I'm committing that to memory, because later on I'm going to write that down it's almost like a 1 behind kind of routine. So I'll say, take the card, sandwich it between your hands, but put it underneath the table or sit on it out of the way so nobody can see it, and at that point I've committed it to memory. So just for the sake of the explanation, this is the King of Spades. Okay, so they take that, they put it off to one side, and I say, again, I don't want to touch the cards, so can you move those ones out of the way? We're just going to deal with the ones that you've dealt. So they move those off to one side, and I say to them, now, if I'd have known the order of the cards beforehand, then there's a possibility that I could have just kept a count of number of cards you've dealt and know instinctively what this one is. But there's no way I could do that, because you mix the cards up at the start, so there's no way I could know the order. However, if you think that I do know, or knowing the number of cards you've dealt has given me some advantage, then just cut a few cards from here and just drop them on top. So we genuinely have no idea how many cards are left in this pile, and they can do nothing but agree with that. So I then, at this point, turn to my second participant and I say, now I'm going to make a prediction for you as to what I think you're going to do in a moment as well. So this time I write down the card, or let's say the first card. First card will be, and it will be the second one that dealt down, so that will be the King of Spades. The King of Spades. Fold that, making sure no one can see it, and this time I'm going to feint writing a 2. In reality, I'm going to actually write a 1. Okay, so I've actually wrote a 1 on there, but pretend that I've written a 2. And I place that in there as well. And I purposely want to put them inside this box because it helps later on when I dump them out that you can't keep track of which one went in first. And the fact that I've misnumbered them helps create the illusion to everyone else watching that because I numbered them in advance, it helps keep track of them. Really, it just helps me with the deception. So at this point, the second person is going to take this pile, and I'm going to explain that, the first person dealt 1 pile. I want you to deal 2 piles. Okay, but you can deal 2 piles in any way you want. Now, the only thing I want you to do is bear in mind some people will deal 1, then the other, like this. So you can do that if you want, or you might want to deal them several cards at a time. The only rule is you deal them 1 at a time until you've done all the cards. Okay, 1 at a time until you've done all the cards. And all that's doing is reversing the original order, like in Tracker. So I know the very last card dealt, this one here, will be the very first card on the top of the deck right at the start. So this one here will be the card that we predicted, which is the 8 of Hearts. And it is. But what I need to do is I need to now narrow down just to this pile. So once they've dealt out the cards, I will say to them, hold your hand out. And I'll say with both hands, place them down like this, so they're about an inch above each pile. And it's a bit of a strange thing to do. I've not asked them to do anything like that at the start. And I will look at them to get their attention as I'm talking to them. And I say at any moment, when I snap my fingers, I just want you to lift up 1 hand. Okay, so just lift up 1 hand now. If they lift up this hand, that pile is eliminated. And I'll say, the reason why I've done that is because the focus is that their hand's still covering this pile. So it's kind of hiding it from me so I can't see any of the cards or catch a glimpse of anything. So I'll say, right now, the top card underneath your hand, take it, put it under the table and don't look at it. So that's what they do. And I know I'm done at this point. I've predicted both cards. The other thing might be where they lift up this hand with the force card here, what I want. I'll say, okay, so snap my fingers, they lift up this hand. I'll instantly say, take that top card under the table, hide it, sit on it, just don't look at it. And we're done. The sequence is done. ready for me to move on to the actual revealing of the predictions. Now, at no point have you actually touched the cards. It's all been done out of your hands between the two participants, so it really is a hands-off kind of routine. Now, in terms of bringing the predictions into play, I will then dump these cards out. These are hidden underneath the table or sandwiched in between the hands under the table. And I'll say that I wrote down some predictions ahead of time, and I purposely shake them out. And I say to keep track of them, I did number them. So we've got you were number 1, you were number 2. If you can bring your cards up, but keep them face down onto the table, they'll do that. And then I've got this moment here where I can just pop it down like this and open it. It's theatrically, it's quite a nice little thing. It's a little bit different. And I'll say to them, okay, so we predicted your card ahead of time, number 1. So it says the first card will be the King of Spades. And I'll turn to this one straight away. And I'll say, and the second card will be the 8 of Hearts. And then I'll have them turn their cards up. And again, we get a double match, we get a big reaction. And this is one of those routines where it feels absolutely impossible because they've shuffled the deck, they've had all the control, the control's been taken away from me, they've just followed my instructions. So I've literally not touched the deck in any way. And one of the added variations that I've done of this routine over the years is with the blindfold. Because if I isolate my eyes, then there's no apparent way, even if somebody's thinking he knows what those cards are, you're never going to get a reverse engineer on this because it's impossible to break it down. You've got marked cards, you've got a 1 ahead, and apparently a blindfold, so you can't see anything anyway. But the blindfold is you must be able to have a down-the-nose peek because you still must be able to see the marks on the cards. So if you're going to do that, just use like a simple cloth blindfold, get it tied at the back, and have it adjusted so you can see down the eye, see down the sides of your nose. You can use the traditional tape and the coin method. Again, you can look straight down the side of the nose there, and you can be able to keep track of the cards by peeking them. The only problem with it is that when it comes to writing the prediction, because you're blindfolded, there's a bit of a disconnect there where it doesn't quite make sense that you can write and not be able to see as well. So I would say if you are using a blindfold, use a cloth blindfold, what you can bring up as you make your prediction and then back down again. That's probably the best way to do that. Or just go straight in and don't use any blindfold at all. But if you want to add that extra layer of deception, you can do. So that is the Reaper. It is born out of the Tracker, but it's a 2-person variant. I hope you enjoy it. I've had a lot of fun out of it, and I still use it today in my bookings and events that I do over in the UK and Europe. Thank you very much. Okay guys, this is one of the most difficult routines I've ever had to sort of try and explain on camera because there are so many potential variables and different ways it can go. However, if I teach the overall structure of it and you get a sense of what's going on, then you can kind of adapt to it knowing that this could go a number of different ways. So we'll try and get the basic structure ready and then hopefully you'll see with the performances that there's certain different ways it can go and how I handle those eventualities. Because literally you cannot control any aspect of this routine. One of the things that I've done for years is sometimes I want to get a really strong illusion that I knew what someone was going to think before they actually thought it. And this is a really nice way of doing this with a deck. But it doesn't rely on the marks, but I'm adding this because I actually use it and I wanted to share it with you guys because I get great reactions with it. So at the start of a routine, I might not know which effect I want to go into. So what I will do is I'll say, often when I ask people to think of cards, I get, there's certain cards that pop up all the time. The Ace of Spades is a really popular card. Queen of Diamonds, Queen of Hearts, very popular with ladies. I just want you to give me a number between 1 and 10. And by doing that, there's a vast majority of the time that people will say the number 7. It's a psychological force number and it's maybe down to the fact that it might be lucky 7. But a lot of time people will pick a 7. Now, if they name a 7, great. What I then want to do is say, okay, so imagine seeing the number 7, and next to it, put a suit, like in a deck of cards, like spades and whatever. But to choose whichever one you want. And what I'm looking for, what I'm hoping, is that they're going to say one of the red cards, so either hearts or diamonds, and I've got an out for that. And I purposely mentioned spades to kind of eliminate that, and thus in their head kind of eliminate the black cards as well, but it's subtle and sometimes it works really, really well. So if I get a hearts, if they say 7 of hearts, and I'll say perfect. Okay, I've not touched the deck, but it's been in full view the entire time. I want you to have a look at the very top card in the deck. I don't want to touch it, you take it out. Just have a look at the very top card, and I will literally place the 7 of hearts on the top. At this point, you've got a 1 in 52, and people go crazy about it. It's a really impressive way to perform with cards, and apparently you don't need to do anything else really because you can't really top that. You've asked somebody to name a card, they've named the 7 of hearts, and bang, it's on the top. Now, what if they chose the 7 of diamonds? And sometimes this doesn't happen as much. I usually get the heart as the top card named. But if they name the 7 of diamonds, I have it on the bottom. And what I do, if they go for diamonds, I will literally, we just make sure these are back in. I will say, okay, 7 of diamonds. So I've turned it around and said, look at the very top card, and they see it straight away, and they react before it's even come out. And then as I'm spreading them, they see that there's no other 7s, because I know that this 7's here, which I'm just going to keep out of view. At that point, I don't tend to do anything else. I will move on to something completely different with the deck, because it just shows that what I do with cards is completely different to what everyone else does. So you're kind of setting yourself away from all the other kind of magicians what do more traditional card effects. It doesn't rely on the marks, but I want to share that with you just in case you wanted to add it to your repertoire and get some great reactions out of it. But the good thing is that if it doesn't hit, if they name any other number except for 7, you can then go into this following routine. Now, before we go into this routine, I could say that I feel very jazzy, very sort of free when I'm doing this, and I feel almost that I could sort of flow into any kind of routine. So if I say, give me a number between 1 and 10, and they say 5, and I'll say, okay, so then I'm going to go into this particular routine. But if I don't, I could go into body language, the very first routine that I taught you. So I could say 5, okay, fine, I'll give it a suit, 5 of spades, and that will be a card that you just made up on the spot. All we're going to do is we're going to take the card and we're going to choose one at random. So just say stop anywhere you want, have a card selected. There has been times that they've actually picked the card that they've just named. So got 1 in 52 chance of that happening with the 5. And it does happen. You perform long enough, you're going to get crazy things happening and milk it for all it's worth. But the vast majority of the time, it's not going to happen. So if I say pick a number between 1 and 10, and they give me anything other than 7, so let's say we'll use 5 as an example, and I'll say, okay, so see the 5, and then see a suit next to it to build up a card. Is it the 5 of clubs, is it the spade, the diamond, the heart, which one we're going to go with? It does not matter which one they say. Let's say hearts, 5 of hearts. And I'll say, okay, so 5 of hearts, for whatever reason, has come to mind. Yes. Now, I always have the deck shuffled. Before any trick that I do with a marked deck, I have them shuffled because it's suggesting that the cards aren't, the order's not precious. I'm not that sort of, protective about them. It's literally just take them. If you drop them, it doesn't matter. Just mix them up, shuffle them, so you know that we don't know where the order is. As they're shuffling those cards, that's when I'll ask them to name a number between 1 and 10, or to name a suit, or to create a random card. So let's go 5 of hearts. When they hand it me back, the first thing I'll say is, we don't know where the 5 of hearts is in this deck. Nobody does, because you've shuffled them, correct? Yes. And I'll say, just hold your hands out like a little table. And this is better if you're in a mingling environment, maybe performing at a drinks reception or a cocktail party or something like that. If not, you can perform it on a table as well. But I quite like the impromptu nature of just basically having their hands cupped out like a table, and I will deal into their hands. Now, the truth is, what you've just said, we don't know where the 5 of hearts is. We have no idea. It is 1 in 52, could be at any position inside that deck. So what I'm going to do, and this is where, going back right at the start, you learning to be able to read the cards very quickly as you go through, but also naturally. You want to avoid sort of being really slow and methodical with it, because people get bored, but it also looks as if you're looking for something. So you start dealing. And as I'm dealing, I'm looking for a 5. I'm not trying to get the suit. I'm not looking in the middle here, because I've got to process 2 pieces of information here at the start. So I'm just looking for a 5, okay? And then as I get to the 5 of hearts, I'm going to say to them, just say stop at any point you want when we think that we might be getting close to the 5 of hearts. So let's say they stop here, okay? Now, I've already spotted the 5 of hearts in the deck. I know it's already in this sort of section here. And I appreciate there's going to be plenty of times where they say stop before you've got to that card. And we'll go through that in a minute. But I'm going to basically talk to you about what happens if you get it within the first few cards. It's in here. And I'll say perfect. Now, obviously, you have no idea whether you were right or not. Whether it's your gut instinct or your intuition, what you're going on, that's fine. So all we're going to do again is, as I'm going through very, very slowly, I just want you to say stop at any point you want, and I'm timing it. So let's say they say stop here, and again, I know they're still in here. And this will continue as we are eliminating cards, and they say stop. Now, if I know that the card, the 5 of hearts is here, by the way, it's at this point. Now, I don't want to run the risk of dealing down and them saying stop before we get to it. So because I know it's towards the bottom, all I'm going to do is a very quick shuffle and bring it roughly somewhere up towards the top, and then go again. Just say stop. Stop there. When I get down to just 2 cards, which of course they're going to say stop because you've only got 1 left in your hand, I spread them out and I say put one in each hand, okay? And when I snap my fingers, just hand me one of them face down. If they hand you the card that's not, you've eliminated it, they've left with one card. However, sometimes they're going to hand you the card that it is, and I say, are you sure this is the one? They say yes or they say no. Either way, we've got the card here, which is the 5 of hearts, and they've apparently intuited that card. They've thought of the card as they're shuffling it, they're naming it, and you've gone through dealing them, and you've just asked them to say stop a number of times until you've eliminated all the cards and just one remains. And guess what? It's the one that they were just thinking of. The reactions will blow your mind. They go nuts. But I appreciate it's not going to happen as easy every single time. There's going to be times where the card that they named, just through the random nature of them naming any card and shuffling it, where it could be towards the end of the deck. So let's, for example, we'll use the 5 of hearts again, but I will put it towards the end of the deck. So this time it's here, okay? Now, at the start, you have no idea where it is, okay? So what I will tend to do is I'll start dealing the cards. And once I get to about 4 or 5, 6 cards, and I haven't got to it, I'll say, as I'm going through the deck, okay, and I'm just buying as much time as I can. As I go through the deck, I just want you to trust your instinct, trust your intuition, your gut instinct, whatever it is. Just by adding those extra few lines, I've probably almost near half the deck. And I'll say, as we go through, you're thinking of a card. What card was it? And again, that's bought me some extra time. 5 of diamonds. Okay, so whenever you get an instinct about the 5 of diamonds, or sorry, 5 of hearts, just say stop anywhere you want. And they say stop, okay? Now, I've already gone past the point where it's going to be in there, so we know it's on here. And we also know that because we've put it towards the end, that in terms of where this card is, it's going to be towards the top portion here. We know it's not going to be down the bottom. So I don't need to mix up the order anymore. And so that's perfect. Obviously, we're just guessing, we won't have a clue. As I'm going through again, just at any point you want, just say stop. And what I'm doing is they will naturally be looking down at you because they want to see where you're looking. So as soon as I spot the card, I start staring at them. Because at the moment, if they look up and look what you're doing, they'll only ever remember that you were staring at them. So that it just appears that you're not doing anything else. So again, they say stop. And again, I know it's in here, so it's the same thing again. I'm going through, I'm buying myself some time, and I say, okay, now the odds of you stopping me bang on that card is almost impossible. But, you know, oh, there, you want to stop there? Perfect. We'll go through again. You can see what we're doing. We're just dealing the cards, you're eliminating them, say stop, stop. And it's basically, I'm telegraphing what's happening. Each time we're eliminating more and more cards. And what I'm looking, there's a sweet spot in this routine where you will find that you see the card, you know where it is. So you know that as you're dealing, it'll either be on the top or the bottom. If it's at the bottom, you're going to shuffle it towards the top of the deck because you want it to be one of the first cards you deal in each procedure. So let me just find the card here for here. So say it's the second card down, okay, the 5 of hearts is here. We're going to put it as a second card down. This is a real sweet spot. This is a great part where you want to be in because as you're dealing, they're very unlikely to stop you on the first couple of cards. And the fact that you can buy yourself some time by actually dealing the first couple and just say stop anywhere you want, it's already on the table. So here, we know that it's the second one down. They're not going to stop on the third card. So you deal the first one and say stop again, and you're timing it each time that you're dealing it as you're saying, giving instructions as you're dealing the card. They're never going to stop you before it. So once we're down to just 2 cards, again, just hand me one of them, keep it face down. If they hand you this card, that one goes. If they hand you the other card, that one goes, and you're left with the bottom card, the only one remaining, which is the card that they're thinking of. Now, before you reveal it, literally, because you'll get people that sort of join the group, they can see something going on. So right at the end, you kind of want to almost do like, it's like in teaching, it'd be like a plenary. You're kind of recovering ground, and you want everyone to see what you're doing. So you say, now literally, you've been thinking of a card. Okay, you didn't get asked to pick a card, you just named and thought of a card. What card were you thinking of the entire time as you're doing this? The 5 of hearts, and you've trusted your instinct to eliminate 51 of them, and you've just got one card. Now bear in mind, you shuffled these at the start. There's no way anybody could have done anything. Turn it over, they get the 5 of hearts, boom, big reaction. It's one of those routines that's going to take a lot of practice to get the feel of it and the timing right, because there's going to be times where this particular card that they've named is randomly going to come up right at the bottom of the deck. And if that does happen, There's other ways that we can deal with it. They're not quite as strong in terms of the potential out, but we can talk about what sort of happens there. So let's say if we've got the 5 of hearts, I'll put that maybe here, which is like within the last 10 cards of it. As I'm going through, and I'm trying to spot this 5 of hearts, and I've used as many techniques as I can to prolong the talk and get them to sort of say stop as late as they can. Say they say stop, let's go right into it, but just before, let's say they stop here, okay, and we haven't quite got to the 5 yet. Where is the 5? Let's have a look. The 5's here, okay. Let's say they stop there. Now I haven't really told them why they're stopping. I said just say stop whenever you get a feeling. So if they say stop here and the card's still not come up, I'll say, now I don't know why you particularly stopped here, but all these didn't mean anything to you. You decided to stop here when you've got some kind of feeling, some gut instinct or intuition. So this time what we're going to do, these have gone, I've eliminated them. This time what we're going to do is I'm going to deal them very slowly, and I want you to say stop when you get another feeling. Okay, again, this is the card. I've timed it, so I've already dealt it as I'm talking. Say if they say stop here, again, they're gone. And we've got just 4 cards on the table, okay? Or in their hand or whatever it is. Mix them up, and again, you want that card on the top, because you're dealing again, it's going to give you that chance to get into that sweet spot. So you deal it down, tell them to say stop again, boom, there. Again, once you get down to those last 2, 1 in each hand, hand you one of them. If they hand you the force card, great, or the card they've named, great. If they hand you the other one, it's eliminated. It's just standard jazz kind of equivoque with it, and it's a feeling as opposed to you know, it's not a strict regimented routine that you've got to do. It's a feeling of something that just feels natural, and it's only going to come with time, experience, and practice. So that is a relatively, probably about 2 years old routine that I've been doing. Absolutely kills people. I know it's a cliche thing to say, but it's one of those things that, you know, the reactions are just really, really good. It seems absolutely impossible. Go out, practice it, have some fun with it, and let me know how you get on. Okay guys, so that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this product and this instant download working with me, Looch, and my approach to mentalism with a marked deck. If you've enjoyed it, please leave a review, and I hope to see you on the next project with Penguin. Thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.